Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Arizona, and I hope you're all staying safe, especially if you're in one of those states like I am where you are told to self-quarantine, stay-at-home orders, whatever. So today, stock versus aftermarket. Which one's better, and do you need it? This is a huge debate, which I don't think I could answer all the questions right now. I couldn't even cover it. But stock versus aftermarket, let's see. There's three things I'm going to cover today that I feel are pretty important. Tires, axles, and tie rods. Now I'm going to compare them. So stock versus aftermarket. Well, do you need aftermarket? Honestly, probably not. If you're one of those people that's going to take your machine and drive it like it was designed to be driven, stock is absolutely fine, to be honest. It doesn't matter if it's a Honda, a Polaris, a Can-Am, a Kawasaki, whatever. If you're using it the way the manufacturer designed it to be used, there is no reason you need aftermarket, in my eyes. You know, adding a windshield or something, you could go aftermarket because you like the cost. But do you need to upgrade axles and tie rods and that type of stuff? Probably not, because you're keeping it within the limits of what the machine was designed to do. So let's look at tires. Do you need to go bigger, better tires if you're going to keep it within those limits? Probably not. The reason I went with those tires over the stock tire, now this is the spare I had for my stock setup, is I got pulled over for not having a DOT approved tire. Yes, I had a police officer who was just doing his job. He pulled me over. I was dropping my daughter off at school one day and said, hey, just gonna give you a verbal. You need to put DOT tires, and here are the reasons. I'm not gonna get into them, but he was right. And hey, you know what? I gotta buy some new rims and tires that I liked for my Pioneer at the time. So win-win for me. So another reason you may replace your tires before they wear out or when they wear out with an aftermarket style tire is these stock Bighorns here are a 4-ply tire. Now that's not bad. They have a lot of give. They're flexible. They're a comfortable ride off-road. But you know, at high speeds on this thing, you know what I mean high speeds? I mean 40, 45 miles an hour. I don't max this thing out all the time. I cruise around the neighborhood and whatnot. They got like a wallow, you know, they just kind of float side to side. It's very soft sidewalls, to where the aftermarket tires, whether it be a truck style tire, UTV tire, you can usually get a 6 or an 8-ply rated tire, which is gonna have a stiffer sidewall, a little bit better for pinch flats or reducing them, and a little bit of a firmer ride depending on what you're looking for. So now I see, you know, tires are covered, and you know, those are gonna wear out eventually, so you can replace them with whatever you want. A lot of people go back to stock, or they replace them with the type of terrain that they're using. Well, it's a lot of blacktop like myself, or the people who are out in the mud, you know, rocks, mountains, whatever. But the next thing I was really curious on is I looked all over the internet in tie rods. There is a ton of aftermarket tie rod kits out there. And do you need them? Honestly, in this setup right here, I don't think I need aftermarket tie rods. And here's the reason. So your tie rod, you know, turns the wheel. What I like about that tie rod right there is it's the fusible link. I've only bent one. It was all my fault. I hit a hidden tree stump or rock. I don't even know what it was. Doing about 30 miles an hour, and it just slightly bent it. I'd rather that tie rod bend than snapping an axle, you know, doing damage somewhere else in this setup. Doesn't mean I won't upgrade them, but just in this setup. So let's look at the difference on the Pioneer between a stock tie rod and an aftermarket tie rod. So right here, I have a stock tie rod. This is what they are. They're pretty stout, and they're $20. Now, if you notice though, it's not like a traditional car tie rod. You can only adjust one end. So you adjust it right here, and it necks down pretty good there. And that's typically, I've heard of people breaking them there. When I bent my tie rod, it was right here. So this right here is a set of aftermarket tie rods. So if you open this up, and mind you, I just cut the tape for the most part. I haven't even dug through this box yet. Pull this stuff out. All right. So here is what your tie rod end is going to be. And this is going to go up right past here on the knuckle side. So that's pretty stout, but that's not what bends. So I'm going to put that aside. Let's see. All right. So here is the aftermarket tie rod. Now, this is hollow. I don't know if the camera's showing that. To where this is solid. Okay, so let's see the difference. Remember, this is solid, this is hollow. I'm zeroed out. So look at the narrowest part here. And it's a half inch. That's pretty stout. Now, let's go all the way down here where it's in the bend. And it's 0.34 of an inch. On here, just for the comparison, and I know it's hollow, it's 0.87. Now the reason I'm not gonna measure this right here is that's gonna have something threaded into it. Let's see if I can find it. So you're gonna have these, which are solid, thread in to both sides. And then this is gonna thread in to the other side. So I could measure this. It's about the same. It's 0.62. So it's twice the size of that one. It does move pretty good. I'm impressed. Compared to this one's really stiff. Now I have said in the past, and I'll say it again, I do like the factory tie rods. They are $20. They are much cheaper than this kit right here, even if you get the 15 or 20% off sales that Super ATV does. It is much cheaper. You could probably buy 10 of these. But it depends on the application, what you're doing. If you're one of those guys running portals, 35s, 40-inch tall tires, this is gonna bend pretty quick. The beauty of this is this has a lifetime warranty through Super ATV. You bend it, they replace it. Now from my understanding, I haven't got too far into it, only this piece has the lifetime warranty, nothing else. So the weakest link, the hollow piece, will have the lifetime warranty. And the other thing I like with this is when you adjust it, you twist it one way or the other, and both the inner and outer tie rod adjust, the ends, to where the stock, it's just the outer tie rod adjust. So a little difference there. This is more of the automotive style. I like this style better. So stay tuned for future install on that. So next thing I want to talk about is axles. Aftermarket versus stock. Do you need an aftermarket axle or can you stay with stock? And again, back to my first point, if you're going to use the machine as it was designed to use, stock axle is absolutely fine. Why would you replace an axle? Well, you broke it. Sometimes it's just cheaper to buy a new one than it is a stock one. So why did I replace my front axles? Well, let me show you. First of all, we have the Ford A-arms and they're arched. So we put the Rhino 1.0 axles on there because that's what was out at the time. And the reason being was this boot right there, the CV angle. When I would turn the steering wheel to lock and bring this all the way forward, it would start, you'd be right there where it was getting ready to bind. And at full droop, bringing this down, the axle is actually holding it from going to full droop when my shock wasn't attached because it was binding and I couldn't actually turn the wheel. So with these axles here, these CV angles, I forget the percentage, but Super ATV says the Rhino axles have a greater CV angle, so I can turn it lock to lock. Now I also don't run the steering stops that you're supposed to with these A-arms. Now I know I'm supposed to, and I am just now out of warranty. I've been running them for about a year right now. They come with a 1-year warranty. I've never had an issue. And if I am turning my steering wheel to full lock, I am very careful. I don't goose it, and I try to make sure I'm not in four-wheel drive. Let's go ahead and look at the differences in the thickness of the axle shaft on the Rhino 1.0 front axle versus the stock axle. So I'm zeroed out again. See if I can do this one-handed. And I am 0.98 inches. Okay, so here is the stock passenger side axle, the same axle we measured. If I measure this, let's make sure it's zeroed out. So it is 1/10 of an inch larger. Now if you look at the stock axle, let's see if the camera shows it, it necks down. So it comes out nice and wide, and then it necks down. And this wider part is actually about the same width, 0.01 inches bigger than this. Now let's compare that to the stock rear axle. So we're gonna go ahead and zero that out again. So the main part of this rear axle is 1.14. But if you look, it's backwards. So it necks down. And I know why it does that. So if you break it, you're gonna break it up here. So let's go up here to where they want it to break. Bring it down. And it's 1 inch. So the rear axle is 1.1 inches in the center section. Where this one necks down, the rear axle is reversed, where it's thicker in the center, then it necks down, and that's where they're gonna want it to snap if you snap an axle. And that's pretty tough to break. But right here are the Rhino 2.0 axles. Now this is for the rear. And if you look at this, it doesn't neck down anywhere, but right here is where they're gonna want to snap. So let's do the center part. Let's see. Zero this out. So it's about 1 inch. It's actually a little narrower. Let's go to this center, the smaller part. We got this here. It's 1 inch. So interestingly enough, the Rhino 2.0 axles have an 18-month warranty, is smaller than the stock axles in the main shaft area, but it doesn't neck down at the ends except for this little area here, which is actually bigger than the stock rear axles. So I don't know if you guys all got that, makes sense. These ones are actually thicker all the way through versus where the stock ones neck down. But again, that's not why I got these. Why I got these was for the more extreme CV angle on these axles. Now we're not gonna do an install on these today. I have an install coming for these. So stay tuned, because we've got some big changes coming up. So again, do you need aftermarket axles? Probably not. If you break a stock one and you need something a little bit stronger, absolutely. And sometimes they're just cheaper than buying a stock replacement. So there you have it. Stock versus aftermarket. Do you need it? Probably not. If you're gonna keep the machine the way it was designed to be used and you're gonna use it in those manners, leave it stock. You know, upgrade stuff as it wears out. Aftermarket, if you're like me, you like to tinker, go ahead. But just remember, with the aftermarket, it's like those tie rods. That stock tie rod's a fusible link. Once I put those upgraded tie rods on there, what's the next weakest thing that could break? And that's how you have to look at it. Axles aren't really a big deal to me. Yes, they are considered a fusible link, because I'd rather have an axle break than a differential, by all means. But there's a reason I put the upgraded axles on, and that's for the CV boots with a better articulation. And I don't remember the percentage, but that's the only reason I did the upgrade, is the stock ones were binding. I know the rear ones right now, if I didn't have the limit straps on with the 814 shocks, they would bind. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Stock versus aftermarket. It's a huge debate. We could go on with this for days, but I showed you the difference between the Super ATV axles, stock front and rear, versus the Rhino 1.0 and 2.0 axles, and then the stock Honda tie rods versus the Super ATV tie rods. And like I said, I think only the center section has the lifetime warranty, but I don't think you're gonna really wear out the ends. So again, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Stay safe, social distance, and until next time.